Hi everyone, thanks for joining this great Carto event, and hopefully you've seen already a lot of interesting content. We will try to explain you one of Experian data assets that is called Worldview, and hopefully you will find it great. These data assets help you to measure and prioritize international opportunities. My name is Stéphane Martis, and I've been working for Experian for 18 years. I'm now leading the data and analytics team from Experian Marketing Services in EMEA. My team is providing data platforms, insights, and analytics modeling for Experian clients on customer knowledge, for example, segmentation, propensity modeling, scoring, expenditure estimates, and also in geomarketing with catchment area modeling, network optimization, and all insight that you can get from a specific location. I've been working on Experian side on the partnership that we have between Carto and Experian, and there are already many clients that are using this data asset and Carto platform. I have the pleasure to present you this database with James Wedge, who is head of Global Sales for Worldview.
Thanks, Stphane. Yes, so I'm James Wedge, and as Stphane mentioned, I'm head of global sales for Worldview. I have worked for Experian for over 20 years, and in that time I've worked with many companies globally, and generally that's the theme is customer and location insight. So I've worked through many projects where I've combined first-party data and Experian data to help my clients understand who their consumer is, but also to help them prioritize markets, and then to undertake location analytics to put new stores and sites. So really what I wanted to move on to really is, a little bit about Experian, because, as it says there, we know data. But before we get into that, I think I wanted to just mention that, as Stphane has mentioned, that the presentations that come before just really do demonstrate how important data is in today's business world. And how great data is leading to great outcomes. But there is also a flip side to that. There is quite a bit of poor quality data out there. And with poor quality data, what we can see is businesses making wrong decisions, and with that, lost opportunities and poor outcomes for them. So, at Experian, the clients I work with, I talk about data every day, and data is the heart of what we do. As you can see from this slide, just to give you a bit of an overview, we have data that covers 190 countries, and we classify almost 8 billion people. We have access to data, which is demographic data, through to disposable income, geodemographic segmentations, and points of interest. So we've got a breadth of data there. And that data is very much used to help our clients to understand their customers, or to understand those locations. And I guess at Experian, what we're kind of proud of is at the moment with the pandemic is how our data is helping some clients to isolate those who are perhaps vulnerable, or there's limited resource, and to focus that. So data really can be used for good, but it really is important that the data that's being used is right and fit for purpose. So at Experian, we tend to see that we unlock the power of data, whether that be first-party data and our data, to create opportunities for our clients. So, as I say, having worked across many clients, we've probably seen quite a few common issues around accessing global data. Most commonly is coverage. With so many markets out there, it's probably very difficult sometimes to get data for markets that are needed. And then often when data is found, we have a problem with the consistency. So where that exists is it comes in varied formats. The data that's available is very much different. So demographics that might be in one market may not be available in another market. And again, that does tend to cause quite a lot of common issues around taking projects or work that you've done in one market and then transposing that to another market. Combined with resolution, resolution is one of the big issues that we tend to see, is that data in different countries exists at different levels. So in some markets, you'll see that exists at a household block, so a very low level. But in other markets, that'll come at administrative levels. And if you're a retailer, for example, wanting to understand the very small catchments, or if you're a convenience retailer, for example, creating very small catchments simply isn't possible with that data. Again, another common issue we see is the number of suppliers. There is lots of people supplying data. And that data, as I say, leads to the differences and inconsistency in the coverage that we've talked about. But it also tends to lead to the provenance of that data. Where did that data come from? And do you have faith in the data that you're actually using? And with that, we tend to see another issue, which is price. When you combine all of those together, the price varies massively, depending on how good the quality of the data, where it's available, and the supplier that you're talking to. So these are common things that our clients will come to us when they're looking to access global data. What we've tried to do is to look at those and to see where we can move past them. So we came back with Worldview, which gives us the ability, I guess, to take some of those common issues. So talking about global coverage, we cover 190 markets with Worldview. Consistency of the data was the backbone that we wanted to also achieve, which is to enable consistent demographics, consistent consumer expenditure, and consistent points of interest, and even a consistent geodemographic segmentation, so that if you're looking in one market, you could transpose what was being done in that market to any of the other markets, and that becomes an easy way to do so. We've also then looked at how we standardize the geographical brick to a low enough level to make it usable for everyone. So we form this at a 250-meter grid, which means that our clients now can look at that low level in a consistent way, but build those blocks up if they also need to look at it on a more macro scale. We're a single supplier, so some of the concerns around where the data is coming from, pricing, and all those other things that we've covered in that diagram on the left can go away, because we can provide that. And by doing so, we've standardized pricing to make this more accessible to people. So without further ado, rather than going through this, I think what it's worth doing is to hand back to Stphane, so that Stphane can actually take you through a little bit more about how Worldview was built, but more importantly, how our clients are using it. So over to you, Stphane.
Thanks a lot, James. And first, let's have a look to how granular the Worldview data is, as granularity is one of the key enabler to build precise analysis. So Experian has set up the Worldview data on 250 meters grids to be able to have access to a consistent geographical level across the countries, which can sometimes vary if you have different providers or different data sources. It can vary from really macro level. When, for example, we try to build studies on the census on many countries, some can divide the country into 50 huge blocks, which is clearly not relevant for most of the location analytics projects. So if you move on next slide, you will see one of the key pillars of these data assets. We use the most up-to-date type of information that is available in the market, and we strongly use the satellite remote sensing technology to build our population estimates on those 250-meter grids. So here is the result of what we can have access to. If you look at Paris, where we have here our offices in France. So on next slide, you will understand why it is so important to have access to micro and granular level. Because it's sure that you can't say that you will take the same decision whether you have access to the vision of Bucharest that is on the left and the vision of Bucharest that is on the right. On the left side, this is information you can get from the census, and all the cities seems to have a pretty high disposable income, which is good information, but it's an average information. If you look at on the right, which is the information you can get using Worldview grids, there are significant differences between areas inside the city. So this changes a lot the decision process and the decision you will be able to take whether this decision is to select a location to open a new store or just to understand the profile of the consumer that are in your catchment area. That would be really different whether you are in the north side of the city or in the south side of the city. And this is what is key to, especially where you try to build, for example, a 5-minute or a 10-minute walk catchment area. If you have access to only big block, geographical blocks coming from the census, whether the centroid of the census block is in your 5 minutes catchment area or not, sometimes you have different a view that is different for 30 or 40% of the population total is different. So that is really one of the key pillars of our data asset, is to have access to this granular information. So how it works, as I just said, we are using the latest satellite remote sensing technology, using multiple sources to aggregate those sources to have a consolidate population estimates on those 250-meter grids. We also aggregate Experian data and partner data to produce a consistent set of demographic information across the globe. And then we use machine learning algorithm and all the data science modeling to disaggregate those information populations, demographic, to the grid level. And we also use ground level information to make our estimates robust. And this is how it works, and then what are the results and what type of information we have. Just on the next slide, we have set up population estimates, let's call it classical socio-demographic, like age and gender, for example, disposable income. And we have also consumer expenditure on 12 key markets. So all those data provide to marketers and data scientists key information to build decision system, to build also their own modeling, to be able to benchmark performances across all their locations across the globe, which is not possible if you have not the same data in every country or the same data structure. You're able to analyze catchment area at really granular level. All that is dedicated to understand your network, your potential, your market share, and also identify potential white spot where you have a huge concentration of your key target segment customer. All that is on a consolidated and consistent scale. So this is how it works and what you can access in terms of data. We have also created worldview segments, which are a classification of global population to 10 consistent consumer types. We have used to do that demographics, attitudes, consumer behavior, and also consumption volumes. They have been identified and validated with detailed international primary research, and they enable the identification of customer target groups and the segmentation of markets consistently across multiple countries. So one segmentation on many countries that allow our clients to have a global view of their customer and also global KPIs to understand their catchment area, for example. So now what it means on a client perspective, which is probably the most interesting thing of data, is the use that you have on data. Let's see using two use cases coming from our clients. So the first one is for a global car manufacturer. And the issues that this global car manufacturer has is quite a common issue when you are a global company. The objective was to standardize the process and the information on more than 50 markets, just to be able to understand their network, their market share, the what was the coverage of their potential, measure the cannibalization and or accessibility to their network or to competitors' network. So issues were that they were using many platforms. In some countries, they don't have any platform at all. They had really different data expertise within the group and within the countries. So that means that there were lack of coordination and quite disorganized analytic department, which was a blocker for most of the countries to have access to studies because it was long to produce. The analytics team build a view for one country with one specific methodology, with one specific data assets, and then they have to restart and to recreate a study on another country because it was different platform, different data assets, and so on. Sometimes it was different age brand, for example, or sometimes it was really different in terms of data that were accessible. So that means that there were few interactions and knowledge sharing across branches. So what we've done by providing the worldview data in those 50 markets is that we provided consistent and comparable spatial data, which was a game changer to develop a new platform because data was easy to upload, just as it was the same data structure everywhere. So they have been able to create comparable methods and also to have access to the same KPIs within the group, which allow them to have the same understanding of their countries because they were based on the same data. And they've been able to quickly deliver studies. And quickly deliver studies mean just being able to speed up the decision process, which is even more key during this period. The second use case is for a sport and leisure indoor center. And those indoor centers contains really expensive structures and decision needed to set up on objective view of the potential. At the moment they came to speak to us, they had something like 40 locations across the globe. They had in mind a kind of roadmap, but their roadmap was based on feeling, on information they get on internet on some cities, and in some cases on local knowledge, or sometimes local belief or political influence on countries and things like that. So it was not based on any clear data measures. And they were looking for ways to consolidate their view and their understanding of their potential. And what we've done is that we profile their customer using Experian data so that we've been able to identify the key socio-demographic according to their visit behavior, their customer information. And the key thing was that we've been able to map those characteristics using worldview data and to do that in every market, in every city, so that they have been able to estimate the number of target consumers across 300 major cities, and then to rank those cities according to a score we've built, so that in terms of results, they have been able to prioritize and optimize their global expansion plans. And all that secured off the back of the science, and with those big investments that consist in opening and creating a new center, it was key. They have opened a site in Hong Kong, which was already planned in their roadmap, and they have now something like 30 locations under construction, and within those 30 locations, something like 20% was location and cities that were not expected by this company, just because it was cities or countries where they did not search for any information, or they don't have any local experts that was able to push on those opportunities. So that maybe this is one of the key takeaway for this use case, is that when you don't have access to data, it's just belief, feelings, and when it comes to big investment, it's not the best way to do that, because you want to maximize your return on investment, and a mistake in that case is a huge mistake. As a takeaway, why you need to use Worldview is just that some number that James already said. This data covers 190 countries across the globe. We have socio-demographics and disposable income for something like 80% of the world population. So that means all significant markets are covered by this view of socio-demographic. We've built Worldview segment on 48 countries, which is 60% of the world population. And we have also many other data assets, like point of interest, for example. In Experian, we have also many other database, but as it is a global conference, we thought that explaining Worldview was the best thing to do today, so that you forget about all the blockers that can come if you think about setting up a global roadmap. And this is a key enabler to move forward and to bring back to the decision process into this new reality that we are living today.
Thanks, Stphane. So, I mean, it was great to hear those case studies, and I think, you know, the empowerment that it gave to companies which are dealing across multiple countries and having to make decisions in a consistent way, and how it's helped them. So, I guess for us, it's to explain how can you access this data. And I think that the great news is many of you will have obviously a partnership with Carto. So first and foremost, you can talk to your representative there to access this data. So this data can be plugged straight into that system. Again, the data files can be agnostic to systems. So again, we can deliver them in any sort of classical formats as flat files of data, or in map shape files, and so on. And also as a kind of lower risk in some cases where businesses don't necessarily want to take the data, or perhaps they don't have the analytical team, but they still need the requirement to understand a market. Then again, we can do that in a consultancy manner or as a project. And again, as I say, that's kind of more of a low risk, which enables businesses to access the data and get the insights from there, and then make decisions on how they move forward. So this data can be made available through those three key areas. So what I wanted to do is, so thank you all for your time. Obviously, you've sat through our overview of Worldview and how it's helping clients. But I guess the next step really is to take any questions from you, which we'll be more than happy to take.
James, Stéphane, thank you very much for that presentation. Fascinating to hear about all the different use cases for Experian data and how you can use that across a wide range of industries. We've got quite a lot of questions in the chat. Actually, one question is about how you can get access to sample data. So maybe we can start there.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so yes, we do, and encourage people to take sample data, because obviously this data is important for people to see before obviously they purchase it. So we encourage that, and the means to get that would be to either contact ourselves or Carto to get that sample. So again, it should be quite a simple process. They just need to name which market it is and then make that request.
Fantastic. And on the topic of markets, we've had some questions from, well, Lua, Tisha, and Marilina, all asking for different areas. So first of all, Gulf countries, then Asian countries, particularly India, and then South American coverage. Yep,
absolutely. They're all covered. And we have different data packs, as you'll have seen. We have demographic packs, we have segmentation packs, we have consumer expenditure packs. Now, for those markets, we're pretty well covered, I think, for all of those, but there is some limitations on certain markets where we don't have all of those packs available. But again, that can be all detailed. So again, an inquiry into Carto or Experian, we can detail what packs are available and then say make a sample available.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you. And then we have a question about granularity. So 250 meter grids are small and also do not relate well with local coastal geography. Do you offer this at other levels instead?
Yeah, I mean, we do. So again, you can take that at any kind of admin level, because the 250 meter is great, but again, you know, we recognize that people have postal geography in each of those markets. So we do offer that data at the more coarse level if it's required. So everything that you've seen, again, is available to be aggregated up. But by building it at the 250 meter, we're at the lucky stage of having data at such a small level that, yeah, it can go to any administrative geography for any country.
How can you be sure that the estimation on each grid is correct? How do your team do that?
Again, I mean, we're lucky, I guess, in many of our markets where we have a lot of data at sort of an individual and household level. So what that's enabled us to do is to look at the calibration between our methodologies that we've put in, and we build that kind of algorithm into how we then work it through other countries where we don't have that kind of data. To get that kind of confidence level. I mean, Stphane, I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to add on that.
Yeah. Well, one point is that we have also the consistency in terms of methodology. So that means that we use comparable data assets everywhere. Of course, there are some countries where, for example, if you look at the UK, there are many data available that can help to test the models. But if you are looking to many other countries, we use the same type of data assets. So in terms of machine learning, all that is calibrated market to market. So we have a huge amount of models that are deployed specifically in every country, and the methodology is the same. People who work on that data are just great people, and they use all the technology available and data available to bring the best estimation of at really local level. Of course, sometimes if you look at the specific grid, it's difficult to challenge the reality of the value, but the data is dedicated to be used in aggregation of catchment area, for example, and at the end, the value of the grid makes sense if you aggregate to the neighborhoods, the grids just after, and so on. And this is, I think, what is key in a methodology that we deployed. We've built specific model per countries, but we deployed a comparable methodology everywhere.
Yeah.
Following up from that question, there's been a couple of questions actually. Tisha has just asked about what are the inputs for machine learning and deep learning techniques used to disaggregate at the granular grid, 250 meter level?
Okay, so there are many type of data sources that I used, and during the presentation we listed some. Of course, there are a lot of data estimated using satellite imagery, which is one of the key pillars to estimate population. But then after, it's become a little bit more tricky to disaggregate all the socio-demographic that we have at more macro levels, for example. So we use all the kind of point of interest. For example, that a specific type of point of interest means that people are spending money, that people are going out, and the density of that is one of the main information to estimate what's the type of people that are living there. Of course, we have access to all the background geographies, to information on roads, on mountains, on so on and so on. There are many data sources that are put in the middle of our modeling system, and this is what is great in the data science that we deploy. And there was many content today during the conference speaking about a huge amount of data, but the key part is to just to aggregate all that and that it makes sense. So this is what we have done with Worldview product.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us a summary of the product today and talking a little bit about the use cases. I think it was probably really useful to many of the people joining today. And thank you also, Experian, for your support of the event. We're really excited to have you here as partners. And I encourage you to participate throughout the rest of the week because we have lots of great presentations and content coming. So